I would like to begin by complimenting Preeti and her team for organizing this beautiful two-day conference, and also for the design and the structure of it. And I think, as she herself said, it is a great finale of the whole thing when we are now trying to discuss as to what capacity building is required to actually usher in this kind of change. While I compliment Preeti for the structure and the design of the program, I'm a bit curious about the selection of the moderator. That's my, I don't know what I'm telling her that I'm a bit surprised about the selection of the moderator, because Ravi, whom I have the good fortune of knowing for a long time, is anything but a moderate. From everything, from his views in different walks of life on different subjects, and his views, his urge for change, his desire for ushering in some changes, it has always been profound. And as you can see from what he talked just now, those views were expressed by you. And I think after what he has said, there are very few things which need to be said now. What I would like to touch upon is the issue that has been raised in this session as a preliminary note, and is that about the capacity building and what problems actually come when you talk of the change, paradigm shift in the governance. One issue, and when I'm talking about this, I'm talking from the government's point of view, and that has also to be understood by the audience. The biggest challenge, I think, in this kind of a paradigm shift is that how to change the system from within. While you are part of the system and you want to change the system, it's a very difficult job. Most of the times, the way the government is structured, the way government functions, people who are the urge for change, people like Ravi Saxena, who have the urge for change, who want to bring the change, but within the system, they would not get either the opportunity or the space to perform. And unless you give them opportunity and the space to perform, this kind of a change cannot be brought in. So the first recommendation, which I thought should also come from this seminar, which I thought was a very practical suggestion, that to bring a change from within the system, you need to have some people who are isolated from the system, who are separate from the system, isolated from the system, and they still have a very deep knowledge of the system. Only then a kind of change is possible. And other issue is regarding giving them a space, because for providing a change, you have to have the space to perform. If you have the space to perform, to bring a change in the system, you have to have the support at the highest level, many times political support, which is many times not there. And unless you have those changes, Ravi talked about process re-engineering. The process re-engineering, that cannot be brought in for the simple reason that you are a product of that process. You are working on that basis of that process. And for process re-engineering, you need to have a separate team, a separate group to work on this. And that's one of the recommendations that I would like to make. The other issue, which again was raised by Ravi, is that in many departments, our systems are archaic, the ones which have been brought in by the British system, and we know that they are outdated, they have not been able to live up to the test of the times, and we want to change it, but we don't know how to go about it. The incremental changes will not bring those results. You have to sort of, I call, destroy and rebuild. In Gujarat, I was there for a few years back, and I went to that area which is affected by earthquake, Kutch and Bhuj area. And the new buildings which have come up, if you see them, they are so beautiful, it feels as if you are in a European country, in a suburb of a European country. The reason is that it has to distract. If you are only making incremental changes into those cities or in those villages, then the change will be very minimal. that probably will not impact the lives of people. But when it was destroyed and it was rebuilt, then what came out is something which is somebody to model. Somebody has to really look at it to realize and understand what kind of creation it has been. So in our several parts of our system, when you want to make the changes, a change which is phenomenal, a change which is going to impact the lives of the people, you have to probably destroy and rebuild. And for destroying and the rebuilding, that is space in between, the time gap, the space gap, how do you actually organize that? For that, the decision makers have to be ready. The people who are willing to do it, they have to be brought in, they have to be given the opportunity, they have to be given the space. And we have to have the systems for that. We have to have tools for that where people can afford to do this. While I'm talking of destroying and then rebuilding, I think the people's anger that you are talking about in several places, and people say that no, this is a system which doesn't deliver at all. We want to totally change it. It is the manifestation of that kind of frustration. Because you realize that any small changes, a minister goes and says, no, we'll catch the culprits within 10 days. No, we'll put them into the law, will take its own course and we will do it in 15 days time, 30 days time. But people don't believe it because people have lost faith in the system, and that system over the time has shown that it has not been able to deliver, and therefore in several areas there is now a need for rebuilding a change. I am work in the Parliamentary Affairs Ministry, and the Parliamentary Affairs Ministry people give very different kind of, they send several kinds of letters to the Prime Minister, to the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, to me, and they come out with some suggestions which are generally weird and people think that this cannot be worked upon. Yesterday I was going through my dark, I saw one letter from somebody written by someone in very funny English, and it says that if you want to improve the system, don't tinker with any other system, only puncture the real estate. That's the only thing that he said. And he said that I am a jeweler and I am now giving ideas to my, to some of the ideas which come to me, and I am now going to pin it down and send it to you. So it has been sent to several people. And he says, and he gives a very good logic. And he says that where there is an inflation of 10% and 15%, we are bothered so much about that. But the real estate, where there is an inflation of 500% and 1000%, we are paying very little attention to that. So please look into that. And for that again, these changes that he is suggesting are revolutionary. And somebody has to really look at it, sit over that and think about it. Only then these changes can come. The incremental changes will not do for this country. Many a system that we have put in place, maybe at that point of time we thought that it is good for the country, good for the system, but over the years we have realized that's not. And therefore there would be, somebody has to get up, have the courage in the government, outside the government, the civil society, to say that we have to totally rebuild it, totally demolish it and rebuild it. Only then the effective governance, improvement in the governance, that might come. The one more issue that I would like to raise here, and I am limiting myself to issues of building capacities and issues which are impediments in governance, in the improvement in the governance, is the lack of professionalism in the country, and that also has to be built in, because as everybody says that we have this concept of chalta hai, the system. Even in the government, what we do is that when we make a new law, when we make a new scheme in place, what we do is we make a law, put it in place and say after some time we'll change it. If there is a problem, we'll change it. But what happens is it is easy to make a law but very difficult to change it. When you put a law in place, it is there, put in the mechanism, systems are built around that. Then after that it becomes very, very difficult to change that. And we, while making the law, generally we are very lax. We say that, okay, let it go and we'll see it later. That kind of work that is required to be done, that kind of insight that has to go into this, that's generally lacking, and that is something which again, very important issue for the capacity building. I will stop at that because I thought it will be more of a interactive session, and I think I would like to respond when people raise different questions and issues. Thanks.
Thank you, Dili. Very appropriately.